Here we are, take two.
That's the face you want to go with for the new take, Rosie? I'm not sure.
Oh, we that up.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to our Luminis roundtable discussion. This is our first week doing this, so we want to focus on introducing ourselves, our organization, what we want to do, what our plans are, just, getting to know each other. I'm going to just have everyone briefly introduce yourselves. Let's include our roles within Luminis and maybe a fun fact about your gaming background, starting with Arcadia.
Hey guys, I'm Arcadia. I am the media director and also the naval commander for Luminis. So I make videos and I do a lot of flying and a lot of teaching of flying. So a fun fact, I've played flight simulators ever since I can remember. My dad introduced me to my very first one when I was maybe 5 years old on Commodore 64. So that's my interesting fact.
All right, Uxie?
All right, hey, how you doing? My name's Uxie. I've been in Unhinged for a while. As far as Luminis goes, I'll be leading the ground combat missions, and I've been gaming since the Atari 2600. Fun fact: I actually love the ET game.
All right, Grollo?
Hey, I'm Grollo. I'm the CEO of Luminis, which means I spend a lot of time out of the game, working on infrastructure, writing code, that kind of stuff, trying to get all of our stuff organized. Fun fact about gaming. Playing video games a long time, too. I can't even remember the first video game I played. Maybe Pac-Man in the arcade, back when they had arcade machines at all the stores. The first console I ever owned was Sega Master System. First MMO I played was Ultima Online. I've been playing MMOs ever since. I can't wait for Star Citizen. His final release. I think it's the MMO Endgame.
All right. I'm Rosie. I do a lot of the event coordination at both Luminis and Unhinged. I will be leading our Luminis Academy, which basically just involves touching a little bit of everything, not getting too skilled at much, just being really good at introducing and talking to people. I am working on recruitment and other things like that with ARC. Fun fact about my gaming background, well, mine's not very extensive. I've only been probably gaming for about 4 years, maybe. So I don't have much of a catalog there, but I really enjoy playing games with my family. So I know Uxie and myself brought up Unhinged and Luminis. So how exactly does Luminis tie into our larger organization, and what is the origin of Unhinged, or its goals and principles?
Yeah, Unhinged has been around, at least in concept, since 2004, whenever we cracked open World of Warcraft. As soon as we... actually, really even before that. Before WoW, we led guilds in the original Guild Wars, Neverwinter Nights. There were several games. But World of Warcraft, the original release, was whenever we got big. Prior to that, our membership was in the tens. With the release of World of Warcraft, we had our first guild that was well over 100 members. We were hanging out on Ventrilo back in those days. It wasn't called Unhinged back then, but the spirit was the same. We still have some of the members that were with us in 2004 in Discord today with us. And so, yeah, over the years, the name changed across games, and it was finally with the re-release of WoW Classic in, 2019? That we settled on the name Unhinged, and we've been that ever since, and will indefinitely be that. So with the re-release of Classic WoW, a bunch of the people from 2004 came back together, and it was around that time we decided, it kind of sucks just every time a new game comes out, we got to create a new guild and go through all the branding and all that stuff. So Unhinged was really just our way of saying, you know what, this is us forever across all games. We may do different brands in different games, but it'll all roll up into Unhinged, and that's kind of how Luminis relates. Unhinged, the name and kind of the branding doesn't necessarily fit with the theme of Star Citizen in that universe. We wanted something a little bit more thematic for space and what we wanted to be and there. So that's where Luminis comes from. But Luminis is definitely part of the Unhinged family.
All right, so on the topic of Luminous and Star Citizen, what initially attracted you all to Star Citizen, and how did you exactly discover the game?
For me, I started playing, I think, around 2017 ish. What attracted me to the game was the idea. I mean, back then it was still, not hardly developed. You could play the game some, but it wasn't the greatest game to play. But for me, the cash shop looked amazing, and so I saw all the different ships you could buy, and how neat they looked, and you could actually, unlike Eve Online, walk around in your ship and go land your ship and get out and run around. Tons of ground vehicles. Um, so honestly, I just started buying ships.
All right. Arc.
So I had I remember back in 2013 or 2014, I had saw the first initial backer concept for Star Citizen, and I created an account. I actually have an OG backer account. I recently had gotten back the information for, but it wasn't much back then. It was just the concept. And I thought it looked like it was going to be really cool, spaceship fighting and like a lot of the broad concept hadn't happened yet. And then I forgot about it for years. Like, I mean, years. It wasn't until Uxie, I think in 2022, had asked me if I'd ever heard of it. And I said I did. And uh, I had made a new account because I forgot that I even had one. And Uxie had introduced me and we had done a scrap run. And I kept asking questions like, so I can just get out of the ship at any time, like I can just walk out onto the station, and he was showing me all these things, and they're just unlike any other game, and that really pulled me in. Um, aside from all the ships and all that stuff, because at the time I just had the small one. Uh, but just the size of the world and all that really, really pulled me in.
Yeah, Uxie sucked me in too. Uxie and I have been playing games for a while together, and about once a week, Uxie says, "Hey, have you heard of this game?" And about once every couple months, he actually talks me into trying one out. And Star Citizen 1, he got me to try out, and I logged in. And of course, Uxie had an assortment of ships that he had purchased over the years. I forget which one we got him, but we got him one. He bought a lot of ships, but he didn't actually know how to play the game. And so we got on the ship, and we start trying to fly to this station. I don't think at the time Uxie remembered that he had a warp drive. And so it took us 2.5 hours to fly from the planetary uh, hangars up to the orbital station. And it was a kind of a boring ride. I spent a lot of time just walking around the ship, checking it out as we used hydrogen fuel to get there. And when we get there, we didn't know how to land. I don't think Uxie knew how to call for a landing pad, so we just kind of landed on the outside of the station in a janked up way. We got out of the ship, and I think I died in space, and that was my first experience with Star Citizen. I took a break after that, but it was a lot of fun.
That's solid. I guess, I mean, for a while I was hesitant on playing just because I have never been super into that kind of genre of games. I'm not huge into sci-fi and space and all that, so I was always kind of like, I don't really feel like checking it out. But eventually, because we took a dip in some other games, I started trying it out. Had some pretty funny experiences, had some pretty heartbreaking experiences, like losing all my cargo for no reason. And, just things like that. But I think the one thing I will say that has added to my experience is the fact that we will all have stories that we would never have inside of any other game, and they were very unique stories on things that occur inside the game. So I think that's something that's made my experience unique. So, after discovering the game, like what specific experiences or aspects of Star Citizen have consistently drawn you back into the game, even after like long breaks or whatever?
For me, it's just feeling like I'm in a different place. Like no other game gives me that feeling. Like I can log into any other game and I feel like I'm playing a game. And obviously Star Citizen's a game, but like it's just such an immersive experience. Like it gives you that feeling like, yeah, I'm exploring a planet or I'm flying through the galaxy. Because there's no objectives, right? Like I know that's kind of a con, but it's also a pro. Like it's kind of what my favorite type of book when I was a grade school kid was the choose your own adventure books. Like Star Citizen gives me that experience. Like I could just log in and just go do something. It doesn't matter what, and anything that you choose to do can turn out in a completely unexpected way. That's what keeps drawing me back to the game, for sure.
Yeah.
For me, it's the ship sales. I mean, just to be honest, I just love buying the ships and getting to get in the game and look at them and check them out.
Congratulations, Mr. Krabs.
Hello, I like money.
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money.
Yeah.
For me, that's what it's about. On a side note, though, I pretty much suck at flying, so I need a pilot if anyone's out there and wants to join up. But that's where I'm at.
That's very insightful. Thank you.
This is going to benefit immensely from Uxi's ship collection when we have like org hangars someday.
It is, unfortunately.
So, for me, what draws me back in has a lot to do with immersion, but it's the overwhelming amount of different types of gameplay that it has, and the expansiveness of the different types of loops and how different from each other they are. And when they talk about simulation, a lot of games say, they're a survival simulator or something like that. But in this one, um, now there are ways out of it, such as dying, but it's like in the future you're not going to want to do that. And there are so many things that can happen from being on a moon and trying to make it back to a station that involve other people, other ships. Just the massive amount of things that can happen, both good and bad, from destination A to B, and it can happen whether you're just free flying around, whether you smacked a tree and half your ship got left behind you, or trying to fish your bodies out of a river with a ship just kind of like at an angle like this out of the side, doing body fishing. It's um, some of the most unreal experiences I've ever had in a game, that I felt like I was in total control over. Like I wasn't limited by the game. It was like I had to think outside of the box, and that draws me back in every time.
Yeah. I would piggyback off that response a little bit. I think for me, at first I was a little thrown off about the fact that like, okay, I can do anything and everything and now I don't know what to do. I really enjoy the fact that I didn't have to level because I absolutely am not a leveler of sorts. I don't do well with questing and specific objectives, so it was a little off-putting, but I think it really grew on me after a while because I was just like, I can just log in and I have everything available to me to go and try out. I think that yeah, like I can't as much as I try to, I can't plan my gameplay. Like I'll be like, okay, I want to go do this bunker mission. 3 hours later, I'll be sitting in a jail cell next to a dead body, and I won't know why. Because, like, there's so much that can happen while I'm going to do that bunker mission. Whether it's I go in and, there's another person there and I lose it and I bomb them, and now there's guards taking me to jail or something. Or I go in and realize apparently crashing your ship into a turret is illegal or something like that. And there's a lot of different things that can happen no matter how much you plan to do something inside of that game. And so I think that's definitely kept me back and going. So
One thing that you both hinted at is something I love so much and definitely keeps drawing me back is that that lack of like standard progression that you see in other MMOs. And I know there's a desire to bring more MMO elements into Star Citizen, but I hope that's one that they never bring in, because like the nice thing about Star Citizen is you can always play with your friends, whereas like in so many other MMOs, like there's a barrier there. Like, oh, you're 5 levels behind me, so we can't play together, or oh no, I need this other thing, and you're still back 5 steps before me, so we can't play together, and so on and so forth. Whereas in Star Citizen, it's like you just hop in and you go blow up some rocks or kill some people or fight some jets, and you're all on the same page all the time. Love that.
And it's like, and to add on to that, I think the fact is like in a lot of other games, you have to be on similar skill levels to be compatible to do things. But when I'm in Star Citizen, like there is such a high skill cap, but like you can fall anywhere underneath. You can be at the bottom like Uxie and you can still play the game.
The turn, bro.
That's brutal.
You just got
and then
roasted.
You have Art sitting at the top, and Uxie and Art can play together, and that's the beauty of Star Citizen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Definitely. And to Ark's point about fishing bodies out of rivers, I was trying to capture this whenever I was talking about like choose your own adventure and all that stuff, but like every once in a while in Star Citizen, I catch myself thinking, I'm not actually here. Like you can get lost for just a few moments and think you're actually there in that situation, trying to figure out what to do in any given moment. Like I never get quite that feeling in any other game.
Yeah. No, there's just there's so many, like I swear every time I log in, I will have a new thing that I have encountered, whether it's, getting overdosed by Ark and shoved out of a ship, or stuff like that. Stuff like that can happen a lot. And it's really cool to try and not only experience that, but figure out a lot of different solutions to your problems like that might come up. And I think that's like it forces me to critically think a little bit, but it's also very like it gives me good stories to talk about. All right. I know we did just touch a little bit on our own experiences, but can you describe like your journey within Star Citizen so far, or any standout moments, achievements, anything you've found specifically interesting in a situation?
For me, so as they said, I basically got everyone in here playing Star Citizen. The first time I took Grollo on an actual mission after I remembered how to play the game and actually use my warp drive, we were doing some kind of mission where we're supposed to go to these little containers on New Babbage, and so or Microtech. So, we're going in and we're looking around for whatever we're supposed to be looking for, and Grollo like pulls out this weapon. Turns out to be a freaking grenade launcher and just shoots it straight at the ground where we're standing. I really wasn't sure what his thought process was there, but nevertheless, it was funny. After my initial aggravation wore off.
It took us so long to get to that point to actually, I mean, it was like an hour and a half of prep figuring out, because like Uxie's teaching a lot of us for the first time. We've never done anything like this. So like we're an hour and a half into this. We're down there on the planet. I like I said, the game is so immersive. I kind of expected everything to be interactable. And I saw this glass bottle sitting on the table. I thought I was pulling out my pistol. I just wanted to shoot the bottle. But like Uxie said, turns out I pulled out a grenade launcher. And very few survived.
I was not one of the lucky survivors.
Oh, neither was I. Guess one that sticks out in my mind actually has to do with Star Citizen bugs. You know, they can actually be charming and create their own memorable experiences. I remember another situation where we had quite a few organization members online. We were actually this is like some of the times where we were figuring out how do we organize 20 people doing things at the same time, and a whole lot going on. And I remember we were landing on moon bases, we were gathering up ground vehicles, we were trying to load them into ships, and it's like Uxie was flying to this moon to meet us, and something happened along the way. I think a bug like sucked him out of his ship or something, and he got straight into space. He ended up just suiciding, and he's like, you know what, I'll be right back, guys. And so he spends all this time gearing himself back up, and finally makes it back to the moon when we're all loading up. We're all long since ready and just kind of waiting on Uxie to touch down and join us. And so he touches down, and he walks up to the facility where you summon your ground vehicle, and he gets his ground vehicle summoned. And he walks out onto the pad. He gets in his rover or whatever it is. He drives 2 feet off the pad, and the thing just spontaneously explodes.
Out of nowhere.
Just comes up with smoke. And
I don't know why a lot of these funny moments end up with my death.
I will never forget Uxie saying that. Now, can somebody explain to me why that happened? Oh my gosh, that was funny.
So, I think my experience, it has some funniness to it, but it was more of a awesome to me than funny, but funny in a way. I remember I think Uxie had just gotten his Hull C, and we were going to experiment to see if we could drop it down to, I believe it was Brio's breaker yard. It was one of the scrap yards, and we wanted to see if we could hover it in air and get down on the ground and maybe pull the boxes off one at a time and try to sell it, because ordinarily you can't sell directly from the ship. And so I get in position. I'm holding the ship steady. They're down on the ground, and they both get shot. Bang, they're down. All right. So what do I do now? Well, then I see this other ship start to take off, and it's nose right at me and just starts shooting me. And I'm like, well, this ship has no guns. Both my guys are down. I'm not going to be able to get to them. And so instinctively, I rammed the ship, which they had another Hull C there, which I assume was theirs. And on impact, it explodes. Everything just fiery explosions everywhere. The one I'm in flips upside down just past the point, and I realize I'm not dead, but the ship is soft death. And so I'm like, okay, how do I get out of this? So I start hopping around in the ship. It's upside down, and I make my way into the hallway, finally make my way into the back, and I get down on the ground. I slide my way down. And I run all the way back, and amongst all the carnage and death everywhere, I managed to pick Grolo up. And so then we had a second problem, which was getting out of there, because our ship and their ships were blowing up. We found another ship just past the area. I think it was a Nomad that was kind of sitting at an angle, and we had to climb up on it to try to drop our way inside. And sure enough, when I got in it, it fired right up, and we were able to make our escape back to the station. And I mean, we could just die and spawn at a station, but it's like in those moments when you're in it like that, it's like you want to survive, like you want to make it back, like you want to go. You don't just want to, hit the button and then fly back and try to grab your items. Like we made it, we survived, we killed everyone, and we made it back to the station. And that was one of my, like, sort of funny the way I took them out, but also awesome moments.
That was totally awesome. There's not much that feels better than disembarking from the ship in a moment like that, and like, yep, we made it. And you go right to the double dog stand, and you get yourself a double dog, and it never tasted so good.
No big deal. I spent over 1 million credits on buying all that cargo, and the next thing you know, it's raining all over the place.
A big deal.
No big deal. Boxes falling everywhere.
Oh man. Yeah. No, I think for me, some of the most unique experiences have been from trying to organize events in Star Citizen. And the quirks that come with forming that. I think one of the events that always comes to mind is when we were in Uxi's Carrick. And we were doing a multi-event night where it was like, we were flying around, we were planning to do a mafia event where we all hit around the ship and we all had a respawn and, it was all fun. A lot of things happened that night, and at some point towards the end of the night, while we're all suffering from brain rot, we all just start getting off and shooting each other, like consistently just blasting, throwing grenades inside the ship, causing like the red fire alarms to start and all this stuff. And by the end of all of it, we have a mountain of bodies to the point everybody was lagging out, falling out of the ship because of it, couldn't move and stuff like that. So we had to figure out, how do we get all of these bodies out of our ship, because it was overflowing. So we go to this area where you can open up, it's supposed to be a landing bay for a ship. We go there and there's 2 hallways. So we have 2 men on duty in both hallways, and we get out our tractor beams and we're just in the funnel, like in lines, just handing bodies, getting them all into this landing port, and we're all like just streamlining all these bodies into the landing bay. And Bud and 2 other people are there taking their tractor beams, and we start flinging bodies out of the roof. We're just taking them, we have to fling them out of the roof to try and empty out all of the bodies out of the ship. And we spent almost 30 minutes just getting all these bodies out of our ship so that we can move normally. And I remember Zanny getting pretty upset because every time she went into the elevator, she couldn't move the elevator because 5 bodies were stuck in the elevator around it and jamming the elevator all up with bodies. So I think that was peak event chaos for us, other than doing grenade dodgeball in the middle of space.
That was fun.
So we've had a lot of unique experiences in our events. How does Luminis engage with the broader Star Citizen community through, our external channels like our forums or social media? And is there any other initiatives that we've participated in or organized?
So we have a lot of faces when it comes to social media. We have the usual, the Twitter. We have a Facebook. Believe it or not a lot of people use it for that. But there's a lot of forward-facing media formats that we use. We also have our own forums and our wiki and stuff like that, which we'll get into later. But aside from that, we do media promotion on YouTube, on Reddit, inside Spectrum. They have a hub that we put all of our videos onto and get comments and feedback from that. And in Spectrum itself, I spend a lot of time in the Spectrum forums and in the actual chat, which has a lot of CIG employees and other very long time players that we interact with. And it's been great back and forth between, both organizations and players. And so because of that, I've been able to meet a lot of people in other orgs. And through that, we've gotten a lot of friendly contact. We have embassies inside of several other organizations, some really big ones. I don't want to name too many of them, but some other ones that are of similar size. And I think, growing that way through these chain links, if you will, is going to help us a lot in the future with our kind of play style and what we're planning on doing. But other than that, it's if I find a new avenue that I think can reach more people, like I'll definitely look into it and pursue it and try to make those connections. Speaking of a wiki and the website, Grolo, you got some insight into that?
Yeah, I'm a behind the scenes type of guy. So I spend most of my time laying the groundwork for others to utilize, like Arc's saying. So I've invested a lot of time setting up infrastructure for Luminis, things like the forums, which Arc mentioned. I don't see a whole lot of use yet, but we're hoping that they do in the future. I know forums are a pretty popular avenue or what a medium for people in this genre of game. I also spend a lot of time on the Discord server, configuring that, setting that up, making that approachable. TeamSpeak is something that we have. We'll probably utilize that a lot more in the future as the size of operations grow. I think it's a much better platform than Discord for that type of thing. The website, obviously, if you go out to luminis.gg, you'll find links to all the things that I'm talking about right now. We have links to the forums, Discord, everything out there, as well as a link to apply and join us. Hint. Yeah, and we plan on doing a lot more of this type of thing. We also have a secret weapon that we're working on, which we call Luminis Console. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that in the next section.
So, for our org, what are our community goals? What does the future of Luminous look like? Are there any upcoming projects or goals that you're excited about in specific, either within the org or maybe Star Citizen?
Excited as hell for 323. And whatever else we're going to be getting through the end of the year. Things are looking very promising and exciting. Ever since I've gotten into Star Citizen and we've founded Luminis together, we've been taking a very long-term view on what Luminis is going to be. We haven't really been planning for what Star Citizen is or was a year ago. We've been planning for what Star Citizen is going to be. Yeah, I think every day we're getting a little closer to that, which is exciting. The idea is that Luminis operates as a sovereign entity within the verse, and that gives us a lot of gameplay flexibility. It allows us to enjoy all the game loops in a kind of a story consistent manner. And it also means that we're building this organization to be self-sufficient, which means we got to do complicated things like have big production supply lines. We need to defend those things. And to that end, like one of the first things we recognized whenever, like earlier I mentioned, we had a bunch of people together and it was a little chaotic. One of the first things we observed is that like organization is going to be the trick in this game. Like getting 50, 100, 200 people working together on a common goal, that is not going to be easy to manage. And so we've been working since the very beginning on things that will help make that easier to manage, and I think that's going to be our competitive edge in the verse. And so I'm really excited to see that stuff come to fruition. I'll pass it over to Arc from there.
When it comes to goals, I think a lot of other groups are very similar in that regard. You'll see that there are usually two types. You have lawful with some industrial with some normal game loops, and then you'll see unlawful with PvP. And you either tend to join one or the other. The PvP ones tend to make trouble for everyone so that they can get their content, and the PvE ones tend to do some of the basic loops. But it doesn't leave a lot of room for people that want to do both things, and I think to some degree most people do. I mean, you do have some people that don't want to raise a gun, and I get it, and I definitely don't knock it. And you have some people that just want to fight. And so we had done a lot of brainstorming. We said, how do you, in a game like this, how do you achieve that, inside of one organization? And that's when it came to us that we could be a completely sovereign entity. And that would open up the degrees to us of, I guess, not really indifference, but like murder hoboism will never be something that we can stand behind. And if somebody gets caught doing that, of course, they have to face whatever those consequences are. But there are a lot of things that we might not consider illegal to us that the UEE might find illegal. Or there are some things that, you know, many unlawful guilds have no problem doing those things, but we might have a problem with it. And so that all comes down to a consensus amongst our players. And as we grow, finding out what those things are. And like I like to think that we're really flexible with that to some degree, but I imagine a flying Tortuga through space where anyone can trade, anyone can look for things that they need. If someone needs help, like I don't care who they are personally, if someone asks for help, um, we'll come, we'll help, and we'll see what's going on. And like I like to think that that broad idea is who we're going to be, a vast sprawling network of people that like to play the way that they want to play collectively.
All right. Well, that concludes our introductory discussion. I hope that gave you guys some insight as to who we are and what our plans are and what we have in mind. So, next week, we'll be right back here with some new topics to discuss. Probably something more involved with Star Citizen as a game. What are the patches looking like? What are we excited for? What's coming up? And all those fun things. And we hope you're back to check us out.
Come on, Art. Bring it home. Bring it home with the wave, Art.
Okay.